years ago, we had over 18,000 students enrolled in the district. Today, as I mentioned earlier, 16,805. While we had seen a downward trend for the past several years, I'm excited to report that this year we have a slight uptick in the number of students who are currently enrolled in our schools today. One important piece that I want to share with this team is how are our schools performing academically? You may have heard or you may be aware of several changes in the state of Texas. One of those changes is the accountability system. Schools in Texas are rated on how well students perform on the STAR assessment. One snapshot in time each year, our students take an assessment starting in 3rd grade, pretty much through 11th grade. And school districts and schools are rated on how well students perform on that assessment. This year has been very different in the state of Texas because the STAR assessment was actually changed and the accountability system was refreshed at the same time. What I have shared with our community on numerous occasions is because of the changes in the accountability system and the way the different domains have been realigned and restructured, even though schools will see increases in student performance, it was very likely that they would see decreases in the actual accountability score or the actual grades for school districts and schools. So when you look at Beaumont ISD, we improved in 2022, 34% increase in the number of A and B rated campuses. So we are doing the work. Our team is working hard, invested in our kids, and we saw significant improvements. This past year, 23, we saw, as you can see on the screen, and I'm not going to read it for you, double-digit gains in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9 content areas. And very proud of our students, proud of our teachers for the work. However, just as we predicted, because of the changes in the accountability system, even though we've seen significant growth and improvement in our students meeting that the level of passing the test, we still expected to see lower accountability ratings. Well, it wasn't just Beaumont ISD. Districts across the entire state very frustrated because of the lack of transparency with the accountability system and the lower ratings. So the state actually released a pause and a delay in releasing accountability scores because so many districts, so many schools across the state actually significantly dropped in their letter grades. As a result, the state said, okay, we're going to push back accountability rating release. So what BISD decided to do is to join in an actual lawsuit against TEA right now because of the lack of transparency and the increases in the accountability metrics that we must meet that we actually can't make a significant change in because it's after the fact. And I'm not going to get into the details of that, but many districts are standing up right now, expressing and sharing concerns because our schools are performing, our teachers are working hard, we are making gains and strides, but the design of the system is not fair. The design of the system does not create an opportunity to clearly and reflectively show the progress that school districts and schools have made. So right now we are in the middle of litigation about this and our scores have not been released, but they should be released sometime at the end of this month. So we are still waiting to hear what that's going to look like. But because of the significant number of districts that are fighting back and express concern, the state is currently realigning some of the structures within the current accountability system that should result in a better reflection of the work that schools and school districts are doing across the state. So that's a critical piece that's happening right now in our district and across the state. So one of the things that we are focused on is, of course, in order to meet the goals that I shared earlier, we have to make certain our students are attending school each and every day. And as you can see, we are not at all where we want to be with students coming to school. In 2018-19, we had an attendance rate of 92.8. We ended last year with 89.58 attendance rate, higher than the previous year, However, it's still not significant enough for us to make certain that our students are learning, that we're filling in those gaps released from COVID. So we still make a concerted effort and a priority with making certain our kids come to school. Times are different today with parents, and kids have more choices about school. So if they don't feel like going to school, sometimes parents allow them the opportunity to stay home. So we're really fighting against that mindset and that mentality in our community to make certain that attendance is a priority for our students. A couple of quick updates and then I'll release to the next presenter. In the state of Texas, school safety is a primary focus. This past, a few months ago, our governor, of course, required that every school has a public safety, has an armed officer at every campus. Currently in our district, we have public safety officers at every elementary school, and we have police officers at every middle school and every high school. Because of the shortage across the nation with police officers, we are working through a plan to actually fully implement an armed officer on every campus in the next 2 to 3 years. But we are focused on safety. Our kids undergo screenings. We use clear and mesh backpacks. We have fencing, updated fencing. When you go to our schools today, you can't just walk into a school. You have to be checked in. We have secured entrances at all of our schools. So school safety is so critical right now across every single school in the state of Texas. But the newest mandate, which mandates a police officer or an armed security personnel at every campus, is something that we are currently working on. One of the things that we are excited about is our percentage of teachers in the classroom this year. There is a teacher shortage. Currently, we are seated at 95% of our classrooms filled with teachers. 185 teachers were hired this year. Now, one of the ways that we were able to get to 95%, which is higher than it's been in previous years, is because of different programs and initiatives that we have implemented over the course of the past couple of years. 2 years ago, we started an adjunct program where if you are a degree professional, then you have the opportunity to work in a classroom where we will train you, where we will mentor you and help you obtain certification, but you must be degreed and have a certain number of hours in a particular field. We have partnerships with Region 4 to recruit bilingual teachers. We have J1 Filipino teachers who are from the Philippines. Currently, we have 15 of those teachers who are certified who are coming into our district this year to work. We've had a Grow Your Own program for several years, but we added a new component called the BRACE component, which is Beaumont's Responsive Academy to accelerate educator certification, where we will, starting with a cohort this year of 10 teachers, 10 paraprofessionals who the district will pay for them to earn their bachelor's degree as well as their certification over the course of the next 3 years. So we're excited about that program. We've brought retirees back into our schools. We are, of course, stipending out our employees to get them to stay and to attract them to come into our district. So when we look at the teaching workforce, we are implementing strategies and initiatives that we hadn't done in the past, because this is the direction that we need to go in order to make certain that we have qualified and certified teachers in our classrooms. So I have many more slides, but I'll conclude at this point because I know we have another speaker. And I don't know if this is the time for questions or if we want to engage in the second presenter before we engage in questions.
Thank you, Dr. Allen. I know we'll have quite a bit of time to talk through a lot of questions that are relevant to these slides. And so maybe as we get into the conversation part of this meeting, I think we can ask some of those questions and have some of those conversations based off of some of these slides, but thank you for that. And I want to hand it over next to Dr. Wendy Elmore from Lamar State College Orange. She's the Provost and Executive Vice President for Academic and Student Affairs for an update from that side of things.
Morning. I'm going to try to share my screen as well. So I'm hopeful that y'all can let's see. Do that. Let me do share. Great. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Outstanding. So as Stan had mentioned, and Kevin as well, thank you, Dr. Allen, for talking about public education. I was in public education for 12 years. And so some of the obstacles that Beaumont ISD is facing have only increased since I was there in last in 2006. It is a challenge. Education is changing landscape. And it's really up to leaders like Dr. Allen to try to anticipate those changes and what the impact has on the community as well as the students. I mean, it is a community concern, you know, some of the things that we are facing. So I have been in 2-year college. I've been a community college and now at Lamar State College Orange for almost 18 years. So I've seen a little bit of a different lens, but it still is very important that we work closely in aligning our resources and support and strategies with K through 12. So thank you, Dr. Allen. So Lamar State College Orange, first of all, are y'all able to see the actual presentation? Is that what you're seeing? Good. The higher education has changed, no different than what public education has. We know that Texas has the 9th largest economy in the world, and we as a state are established as a global leader. But in order to maintain and improve upon the success, we have to constantly modernize, expand, and diversify. That is a given. And so that's what is a little bit challenging for higher education is we have to pivot. So higher education, COVID-19 had an impact on all of us, but actually some of these trends, these emerging trends were already in place prior to COVID-19 pandemic. And so they were already in place in trying to how the students are learning, how Texans learn, and how they work, connect, and use technology. So now more than ever, college jobs require something beyond a high school diploma for employment. And so for years, colleges have worked hard to get students in the door, and that's been our focus. We've worked really hard to get our enrollment increased, but the focus has not always been on what is at the other side of their college journey. And traditionally, a lot of that has dictated how colleges are funded. Colleges have always been funded based on the number of students that are sitting in their college. It's not with very little reflection or very little caveats to what happens to them as they progress through college. Are they successful? Are they graduating? Are they employed? So that we are seeing some emerging shifts in higher education today with funding models that support a different approach and looking at where our students are. It's not about them sitting in college classes, maintaining, accruing more debt. It's about what are they going to be doing with the credentials that they're working and they're pursuing. So what employers want, we know that in higher education, they're increasingly relying upon us to have a highly educated and trained workforce, creating a need for 2-year colleges such as Lamar State College Orange, such as Lamar Institute of Technology, Lamar State College Port Arthur, all of us in the Golden Triangle, to create and provide these post-secondary credentials of value that will align with the skills that these jobs need, where our industry partners are going to need. So because of that, over the past several years, we've had a heightened awareness of what our industry partners need. We are engaging in conversations like never before to learn what skills are deficient, what are your employees needing, how can we serve you? So I want to just share a few minutes what Lamar State College's response to that has been. So Dr. Jones is on the call. He is LSCO's Associate Dean of Technical Programs. His supervisor, Kristen Walker, is the Dean of Academic and Technical Programs. But these photos right here represent, I can't even quantify the hours of conversations with employers, with our own instructional teams across different departments, to develop this mobile training unit. And so this is something that Lamar State College Orange, Dr. Jones wrote a grant for the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board, and it was funded. And this is a unit that Dr. Jones will be able to answer a little bit more about, that can do cross-training on our maritime program. It can do it on our process technology program, welding. It's got all electrical, electromechanical. It's got a little bit of it all. And if you'll notice, it's on wheels. So this is a unit that we can take wherever we need to be able to showcase and try to show our future student population that college is not always about sitting in classes and taking, you know, your math or your history or English. Those are very important parts of college, but there are other pieces as well. And so this mobile training unit is something that we hope to encourage students who may not have realized that college was for them to recognize that it's an avenue that they can certainly take. And so we try to support that. At Lamar State College Orange, we have over 65% of our students are first generation. And so because of that, it takes these types of deliveries, we try to recruit them in meaningful ways where they may not have understood what it would be. They would have never dreamt that college was a possibility for them. So we're proud of that mobile training unit. We'll take it anywhere in the Golden Triangle. I think Dr. Jones and his team took it to maybe Jasper a couple Saturdays ago. So it's great. Then another answer that Lamar State College Orange has provided is through the FAME, the Federation of Advanced Manufacturing and Education program. It's a national program where we have been invited as an educational partner. And you'll notice on the photo that there are industries that come together. They collectively work because they've gotten tired of competing with each other for employees. The market is really competitive to try to find their own employees. So they have gotten tired of that. So they've come together and they've identified unified skills sets, unified curriculum. It's been about an 18-month project, and they've invited Lamar State College Orange to be a part of that to help be the training provider. What our FAME students, which launched formally in this fall semester, that what they do is they are taking classes at Lamar State College Orange, 8 hours a day, 2 days a week. And then they're interns. These industries that are represented on the banner, they have sponsored these students, their educational costs. They've committed to these students. So they are then in their place of employment on the other 3 days of the week for 24 hours of the 40-hour work week. They're with us 16 hours, and then they go the next day after they've been with us, and they reinforce some of those skills that are being taught in our electromechanical program. We're very proud of that. And it has been a very long time coming. And there have been a lot of partners that have been at the table that have really made this work. So that's, again, something that LSEO is doing to try to meet the employer's needs. And then we also were very honored and delighted. One of our employees had written a grant to CP Kim, and knowing that the Golden Triangle Polymers was coming. So she had written a grant and requested some funds, and we were funded $1.325 million to create what we call a hot unit that we are in the middle of trying to get constructed. And it will provide relevant training opportunities to our students so that once they complete their college level courses with us and their training with us, they will be ready to walk in the doors of Golden Triangle Polymers or some of our other plants with equipment that is exactly what they will be using in the facilities that they'll be working. We recognize that is, otherwise it would have been a barrier for us in training them on maybe something that was outdated or wasn't as relevant as what the new units require. So we are very proud of that. Some of the successes Lamar State College Orange has had is we, over the last several years, have seen an increase in enrollment. And so during the last academic year, we had a unduplicated head count. So that would be between fall and spring and summer of over 3,300. Currently, this fall semester, we are over 3,000 students. We've never been over 3,000 students in a single semester. So the last highest was 2,730 students, 2,730 students. So we are beyond that. Kevin, do you have a question?
No, I was just congratulating you.
Thank you.
Applause hands. I'm sorry.
That's great. I'm so sorry. We're proud of that, but let me tell you what we're more proud of. We are more proud of our graduation rates. Our graduation rates are an indication that we know our students who again are high proportion of first generation students. They're succeeding. They're coming in at greater levels, but they're also completing at greater levels. So if you think through that, we have more and more completing. That means our bucket's bigger to have to fill up for more enrollment. So we're able to maintain that challenge. but we, over the last academic year, awarded more than 767 certificates and or degrees. And you can see that it was actually a 20% increase than ever over any previous year. So we're very proud of that. Our students are coming in and they're graduating at greater rates. And then some of our future plans, we're excited. We will have tomorrow, we'll have a ribbon cutting for our LSCO Lumberton campus that we will be opening in the spring. So I guess a takeaway from higher education for Lamar State College Orange and then our sister colleges, we work really closely together, is we know that education is changing and we stand ready and poised to meet those changes and provide what services are needed to our industry partners and our community partners. So we're very excited and proud to be in the Golden Triangle.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Elmore. And thank you again, Dr. Allen. Those were really great updates. So many wonderful things happening right now. And that's what this conversation today, we're going to dive into some of these topics that have been brought up already. We've got a lot of questions for you. We're going to try to maximize time as much as possible. So I do have a little bit of a presentation, but I'm going to go through that very, very quickly so that we can get into the conversation of things. And so just as we're talking about, what's going on in the world of education, we've been having these same conversations in other areas as well. And so you've seen the updates from two of the great leaders in your communities in the educational world. And so just where I come in as the consultant on this project, a little bit about my background. I am based out of Nebraska, previously been the director for workforce development programs here in the state of Nebraska, as well as the director of the Equal Opportunity Commission here. Kind of my career's as far as study goes, I've got a JD as well as a master's in political science with a focus on public policy. And that's come in handy as I've been able to do, different things and work with different workforce areas around the country, just helping to talk through strategies when it comes to workforce development, because they tie in so often to, policy changes as well as, other things that are relevant to that educational background. So some of the things that we've done so far with these industry focus groups that Workforce Solutions Southeast Texas brought me in to help facilitate. We've done an event on October 10th related to healthcare. Great conversations there with some healthcare folks. Actually, on October 11th, I was in Beaumont for the workforce board meeting, got some good feedback from the team there with the board as far as the direction that they want these industry conversations to go. And so we've got a few more coming up, obviously today with education, but next week with manufacturing and transportation later on. So if you want to join any of those meetings, just let us know and we will gladly allow you to be a part of those conversations. So each of these conversations, as you've noticed, we have some industry updates. It's a 60-minute time frame, a lot of conversations about what's happening in your communities, how things are going within the industry. And we'll try to make this as open of a conversation as possible. Now, I know today we've got a lot of people that are a part of this conversation. So we'll be utilizing the chat function quite a bit, but feel free to unmute yourself as we get into these conversation topics. Feel free to add information in the chat, even as other people are talking. We'll capture all of this information because it will all go back to the Workforce Board, which is working and striving to create programs to better connect job seekers with opportunities locally. And develop skill training programs, which are incredibly important to meet the demands of local employers. So this isn't the first time that we've done these industry listening sessions. I'm sure a lot of you, I recognize a lot of names, have been a part of some of these past meetings. We started these out in 2021, doing some early in the year and then some later in the year. 2022, we came back for some fall sessions, and here we are again in 2023 doing some more sessions. So what all this conversation leads to is, some important data that will be sent back to the board, to the Workforce Board, to help identify areas where committees may be able to focus in on different areas, or where the board may be able to help direct some efforts at the job centers to better meet the needs of local employers. So this is just kind of an example of a report that was provided last time after the sessions that we conducted. Today we'll be capturing those conversation topics, but there will be some follow-up surveying as well to get some quantitative data on some of these things, as well as some further feedback on items discussed here as well. So as we jump into the conversation, and I want to do that quickly here, I've kind of broken down today's conversation topics into two areas. So since it is education, it's a little bit different of a world than just manufacturing or transportation. And so with that, I want to, talk about the ways that you all are promoting career pathways, and then two, actually looking a little bit at the industry of education and the jobs and issues that you may be facing when it comes to employee retention or hiring new employees. So looking at the first conversation topics, I'm going to put two conversation topics up on the board at the same time.
Hey, Stan.
Yeah.
We're only seeing your first screen. We're not seeing
any
of your other slides, just to let you know.
Okay, that's good to know. Just a second. Okay, still.
Yeah, we're seeing them now. Thanks.
Okay, so this is what I was highlighting, just some of these things. That's that report that I mentioned. These are the two areas that we'll talk about today, and appreciate that, Kevin, for letting me know. And so to kick off the conversation topics, if we want to look at these two things here. So first off, what new and emerging partnerships with businesses and other community organizations are helping you to build a talent pipeline locally? And then if you could name one skill that helps your students succeed the most in their careers, what would it be? So thinking about those two conversation topics, what are some thoughts? Is there anything new and exciting that is happening right now? New partnerships that are getting built locally?
I see one of my team members, Ms. Eva LeBlanc, who works for the CTE team, and this is part of her job, is to expand partnerships and mentorships and opportunities to connect our students directly to the workforce. So this is a relatively new position that we've created because we start career awareness at the elementary level. So we start with pre-K all the way through 8th grade, making certain that our kids are, first of all, aware of the various different types of careers. Then, of course, middle school, high school, providing them with exploring opportunities, and then high school mainly providing them with many mentorships and different partnerships that we're creating throughout the community to connect our students to the various opportunities that are available right here. So I'd like Ms. Eva LeBlanc to unmute for a minute just to talk briefly about a few of the newest opportunities that we have available in internships and partnerships for our high school kids.
Thank you, Dr. Allen. Most importantly, in my position, is I am fulfilling internships that are available as students finish their CTE programs of study. So as they move into practicum their senior year, they have internship opportunities with local business and industry to intern outside of the classroom. In addition to the CTE labs that we have that will provide a simulated work environment for them where we can have business and industry come in. So I don't really want to run through the long list, but we have a lot of the hospitals, pharmacies, a variety of business partners that come in and do a variety of things as it pertains to work-based learning and the work-based learning continuum. But in addition to that, we do have a couple of programs where we've partnered with the local Chamber of Commerce as well as Chick-fil-A. Our 11th grade students participate in Junior Leadership, which is a high school version of their leadership program, as well as Chick-fil-A has a national program, which is a Leader Academy that we focused on 10th graders that will provide mentorship and leadership skills and really focus on where they see themselves as they're exploring careers after high school in our community as leaders and a part of industry.
That sounds awesome. How long has that program been in place?
Which one?
The second one.
Well, as far as when it pertains to the internships with practicum, you know, that was designed down from TEA a few years back, and that really led to the establishment of this position that I'm in now, which I'm very grateful for. The junior leadership program with the chamber began 3 years ago, and this year is our pilot program with Chick-fil-A. And we're ever expanding our opportunities when it comes to our seniors as they work through their programs of study and move into practicum. A lot of it had to do with letting the community know that we had interns available, that this was a possibility. And this really kicked off in high gear once we returned from COVID. So once you get a couple of kids placed here, there, and wonderful, and it's all awesome, then it grows, right? So that other businesses are calling and asking where they can place. And one of our biggest partners is within our own district. So what I mean by that is that, you know, every educational organization is a business. So students in business management can go into HR, purchasing, accounts payable. I mean, there's a variety of places, as well as our diesel technicians working in our transportation department. So there's a lot of opportunities outside of the district, but our departments within our district also become CTE business partners as well.
Yeah, you said a couple of things that are key there. You know, letting businesses know that there's people, that there's a pipeline of talent that is available, and sometimes that's just kind of the biggest challenge there is that communication, knowing that there are those programs, those people, the youth that are getting trained up. So that's awesome. And then you mentioned the all of the positions that, you know, in the education world that are outside of the things that we traditionally think about, the teachers, the paraeducators, but there's such a wide variety of positions. And so as we get into some of the conversation today too, I want you all to think about some of those other positions as well that we may be having some issues filling some of the needs for. But as we continue to answer this first question, I would love it if everybody would just kind of put whatever that skill is on the second question into the chat. So think about that for a moment. Think about if you could name one skill that helps your students succeed the most in their careers, what would it be? And just throw that into the chat. We'll see if there's some similarities, some differences. If there's two skills that you think are important, throw both of them in, but try to prioritize the top, you know, one or two skills. And then any other, and it'd be great if we had participation from everybody on that. So just throw those things into the chat. And then going back to that first question, any other new or emerging partnerships that we want to highlight that have, you know, sprung up in the last couple of years, last 3 years or so, that we just want to be aware of within the community?
I would like to share our partnership. I'm trying to figure out which microphone to turn off.
Get it figured out?
Almost.
While you're figuring that out, I want to just highlight a few of the things in the chat. So seeing employability skills, written communication, collaboration, lots of communication answers, personal responsibility, soft skills, critical thinking, honesty, personal responsibility, accountability, critical thinking, accountability, like that, honesty, soft skills, time management, more time management, more collaboration, learning to communicate. So seeing some trends there when it comes to communication, time management, and collaboration. A lot of folks indicating collaboration. That's a good one that doesn't come up all that often. Delcy, are you able to share?
Yes, I wanted to mention that Beaumont Early College High School, BISD, is very fortunate to benefit from Lamar Institute of Technology's partnerships and collaboration with industry here, and the different pathways and associate degree plans we have here at Beaumont Early College High School. So it's a really exciting partnership that we have with LIT.
Yeah, that is great. Thank you for sharing that with us. And it is cool just to learn about these new partnerships, what's happening, what you're working towards, celebrating some of those successes. You know, and this is all for the greater good, right? I mean, that's the world that you all are in, is that educational world, or the workforce world. And so trying to create those right pathways to connect people with opportunities to better their lives. I mean, what's better than that? So, you know, as I mentioned, you know, some of the things that were coming up in the chat, you know, the accountability, the time management, the critical thinking, soft skills, the collaboration. Was there anything that's surprising, or is this kind of what you expected people to answer? Is there anything that stands out to you from the, you know, the listing out the one skill or the one or two skills that are most important to help people in their careers? Anybody want to expand on that a little bit more, or why they answered the way that they answered?
Well, I answered employability skills, which encompasses everything that everyone said, basically. I sit on a board of Texas Regional Pathways for Deep East Texas workforce, and we have several industry partners that come together, and this is the number one thing they keep telling us that they want from their young people coming into the workforce. They need those employability skills, or what you might call soft skills. So everything that was mentioned, the communication, the written language, all of those things, they need to be able to have a conversation or to disagree and still work together, and how to convey their thoughts and ideas, how to write an email effectively, how to do all of those things. They need the most when they come into the workplace, and that's what they're seeing the gap of skills most.
Great, thanks for that, Amanda. Anyone else want to talk about what they put down and why?
One of the things I said was critical thinking. I also said accountability and honesty, because you know, so often, how are people going to meet challenges if they can't think outside the box? And if they also don't take accountability, don't believe in themselves, don't do honest work, then how are they going to succeed? Because, you know, the big problem that I see is the use of AI to write papers and do work and stuff now, and that, I think, really limits critical thinking. And so when students can't think outside the box, you know, how are they going to be as employees later down the line when they're in their working jobs, or they're in public service or something where we actually count on them? And so that's why I said what I said. My son has no comment, though.
No, I was hoping for that comment from him, though. No,
You
I
got a comment?
appreciate that. I appreciate that. And, you know, honestly, the critical thinking, that is something that, you know, I've been lucky enough to be in a lot of positions where I'm constantly hiring folks for different teams. And that's a question that I will always include on my interview questions, is something to the point of, tell me about a time where you didn't know the answer, that you had to use critical thinking skills, that you had to find the answer. How did you go about it? Type of question, because that's life. I mean, that's really the world that we're in, is you can't teach every answer, and you have to be able to figure out how to, you know, go about and you know, talk to other people, Google some things, find a policy manual, find something to answer that question. And so me as a hiring manager, I will always include a critical thinking question, because I think that's probably the skill that I value the most in my employees. And the cool thing about that is, there's a lot of conversations about, different generations and all of these things. I can tell you one thing that my kids as teenagers are amazing at is fact checking me. Like, I cannot get away with lying to my kids. Like, they will look things up and be like, Dad, you're wrong. Like, and so they know where to access the correct information. They know how to look things up and how to find the answers to different things. So I'm super excited about the upcoming generation and their ability to tap into some of those critical thinking skills that on a even higher level than previous generations. So anyone else want to highlight anything before we move on to the next slide? Cool. Let me move on to this next conversation topic. So a couple things here, and maybe we'll use this first one as the chat question. So put your answer into the chat. If you could change one thing about the way career pathways are promoted or emphasized, what would it be? So think about that one, put your answer into the chat. And then for the conversation topic, based on your conversations that you're having with businesses, do you anticipate any major changes in the way local prominent industries operate or skill sets that will be needed by employers in like the next 3 to 5 years or even the next decade? Is there anything that's changing locally with your economy that you think is important for everybody to be aware of? Is kind of that second question. But as you think about that and want to jump in with some answers, if you wouldn't mind just putting that first question, your answer in there into the chat. So anything on that second, on either of the two questions that anyone would like to jump in and talk about?
I'd like to say something about the first bullet. One thing that I've seen over the last year is the way, and just in regards to education, the pathway of education, I've seen several schools do something a little different in their approach to their teaching and training program of study in that pathway. And I think it's brilliant. It's thinking outside of the box, and it's really promoting and getting everyone in the door that wants to be in the door. So once upon a time when we had students want to go into teaching, and they would get to their junior and senior year, what they would do is put those students into that practicum setting where they were going to the elementary and working with younger students. And what we're seeing now is a trend of, in education, there's more than just elementary teachers. There's high school teachers, there's band directors, there's coaches, they do all different kinds of jobs. And so the trend that I'm starting to see is that they don't just put those students in the field of elementary to have that practicum experience. They really drill down and find out what that student wants to do in education and try to pair them with that field that they're interested in. So if you have a student who wants to coach, then maybe now they're putting them at the junior high level to have some time at that level with some being in the field house with the coaches, learning a different sport. And so there's more rounds to just education than an elementary classroom, which is where we were seeing a lot of students go to that were interested in that field. But now they're trying to put them in all the areas of education that student may be interested in. So I appreciate that. We're getting more kids in the door.
Yeah, and that's the goal, right? Getting more kids in the door, more career awareness. Anybody else want to jump in on that first question about anything that you wish that could be changed in the way that careers are promoted? And you could be thinking about it from the educational perspective of teachers and other positions, or just with the businesses that you work with as well, of just any career pathways that you're aware of and that you work with.
Well, I'd like to insert another aspect of what we're doing in career and technical education here at Beaumont, is that we have implemented about 3 years ago a K-8 career readiness program. So Ms. Shemaine Cormier is our K-8 career readiness specialist, and her focus is to go into our elementary schools and middle schools and promote career awareness and exploration in regards to programs of study, so that when students get to the 8th grade and they're getting ready to choose a program of study and developing their high school plan, then they are educated educated in what BISD offers, and they are able to, along with their parents, make a decision that is right for them moving into 9th grade. So this particular program, as I mentioned, has began about 3 or 4 years ago. She is a little rock star. Let me just say, the kids love her. It's the career lady. She's coming. And she comes in with all sorts of simulators and activities, and she works with local business and industry to be able to facilitate what she wants to do in educating our kids about CTE programs of study in the district.
That's cool. Yeah. And it's super, super early that you're starting, kids out and getting some of those experiences. Also, other things that I'm noticing here in the chat, starting earlier in education, exposing students to the pathway, matching careers with best practices, colleges, universities, technical schools, and training programs, more virtual simulation for different career paths to allow students to see and have hands-on learning experience in different careers. With the virtual side of things, is that something that's happening pretty regularly with career pathway learning right now? And how are you doing that?
One of the things I know that we've added, I think we started last year with a program called Zello, and we've implemented this program across, especially our elementary and middle school, so they have access to career exploration through simulations and through the activities that are embedded in the program. So that's something that we've started in our district, I want to say last year.
We have several platforms like Zello that can do virtual job shadowing, and you get those hands-on experience. And then our wonderful friends at Workforce will come out and do our VR headsets with our students. And so we get the opportunity to let them try the headsets on and change oil or pick up a welding rod or any of the things that might be a little more dangerous without those skills, but they get a taste of what that's like. So we have several, like I said, platforms like Zello. And then we also have our VR headsets that are getting more and more involved. So lots of opportunities in our area for that.
Yeah, that is really cool.
And I just want to say real quick, Stan, that we actually have several new modules. We received new headsets. We have several new modules, and we have healthcare. We have utility line installation. We have street repair. We have a lot of new modules. So if you guys are interested in us coming out and doing that with your classes, I'm going to put the information in the chat. Sorry, Stan.
No, you're good. That's really information that I think all of us should know. So yeah, the way of the future, right? I don't know if any of you listened to that Smart List podcast, but they had somebody on a few weeks ago, or probably a month or two ago now. And I'm totally spacing on her name, but she does podcasting related to technology. And she was all in on the Apple Vision Pro headset, saying like, that's the technology of the future. That's going to replace, like, we're no longer going to have monitors on our desks, in front of us, because there's so many ways that you can, do your work setup so much easier by utilizing that virtual or semi-virtual technology. And so it's just a, changing world that we're in, and hopefully we'll all kind of embrace some of the opportunities to learn to integrate that into the work that we're doing in education and workforce. Just wanted to highlight this last one before, as we wrap up things. I know we're down to about 2 minutes, but this question here, as we focus in on the industry needs for education. So are there any like top pain points right now in the education world where you're at as far as hiring individuals? What would you list as your top pain points? And you can either put that in the chat, or if you would like to unmute and indicate one or two things that are some of the top pain points in getting the right staffing that you need for your organizations.
I would add for public education, of course, there is a lack of certified teachers out there. Fewer students are actually going into the field to become teachers. So that is a significant pain point. Increased, I would say, certification requirements for some areas, which make it more challenging to become certified, which has caused our district and other districts to come up with creative ways in order to put individuals in the classroom. Being able to adequately compensate for the work is something that we are struggling with because of the way the funding structure is for public schools in Texas, and not receiving new money in order to adequately increase compensation for our team members. Those are huge pain points right now, so much so that, you know, we are being creative. We added adjunct professionals. We are adding new programs to increase certifications. And what I see in the future is more differentiated staffing at campuses, because you have fewer certified teachers. You'll have one teacher who is teaching more than an average load with supports beneath her or him to help them maximize, so we can maximize the number of students who have access to that high quality teacher. So we're actually working on models this year for potential implementation next year, because there is a shortage of certified teachers.
Awesome. Yeah, so it's those two C's, the certifications and the compensation that are huge there. Yeah, great feedback. Also wanted to note in the chat that Kevin put in there, if anyone is interested in learning about the VR stuff, that Austin Brinkley is the contact there, and his email is in the chat. So Workforce Solutions Southeast Texas is happy to give you some more info on that. So I know that we're at time right now. Feel free to add any additional comments in the chat, but I want to be respectful of everybody's time and kind of wrap things up here. Super appreciate everyone's input. We'll follow this up with some additional surveying, so keep an eye out for that. There will also be a report similar to the one that I showed at the start that will be provided to the Workforce Board. So you can request a copy of that as well once that's done. But really appreciate your time and your willingness to share some of the things that are going on in your world. So thank you again for being here today, and best of luck in all that you're doing, and appreciate you once again. So thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
And have a good rest of your Tuesday.
Hey, Stan. Are you going to send out the